She thought it would be just another disastrous blind date. 2 hours of polite conversation, a fake smile, and freedom. But the moment Zara Beaumont walked into that candlelit restaurant and locked eyes with Dominic Ashford, the most notorious CEO in Manhattan, her carefully constructed escape plan shattered. He wasn't supposed to see through her, he wasn't supposed to care, and she definitely wasn't supposed to feel her walls crumbling under the weight of his obsession. Some men you can walk away from. Dominic Ashford wasn't one of them. The reservation was for 8 o'clock. Zara Beaumont arrived at 7:59, which gave her exactly 60 seconds to compose herself before committing to what would undoubtedly be another evening of manufactured chemistry and hollow conversation. She stood outside Lumiere, Manhattan's most exclusive restaurant, and wondered why she'd agreed to this. Because Maya wouldn't stop, she reminded herself. Because her best friend had orchestrated this blind date with enthusiasm, and saying no would have required explanations Zara wasn't prepared to give. The plan was simple: 1 hour of pleasant conversation, then escape back to her Brooklyn apartment where her cat, Langston, and a glass of Merlot awaited. Zara pushed through the restaurant's heavy glass doors into cream marble, cascading crystal chandeliers, and soft jazz floating through air perfumed with truffle and saffron. The maitre d' approached with a practiced smile. "Miss Beaumont, Mr. Ashford is already seated." Ashford. Maya had been frustratingly vague about her date's identity, offering only that he was successful and exactly what you need. They wove through the dining room to a corner table before floor-to-ceiling windows framing the glittering Manhattan skyline. And there, rising from his seat, was the man who would shatter everything. Dominic Ashford. Zara's breath caught. She knew who he was. Everyone did. At 38, he'd built Ashford Capital into one of the most powerful private equity firms in the world. The Wall Street Journal called him ruthless. The tabloids called him Manhattan's most notorious heartbreaker, a man who collected beautiful women with appreciation for their design and no interest in commitment. He was also the most devastatingly handsome man she'd ever seen. Tall, over 6 feet, with dark hair and winter blue eyes that fixed entirely on her. "Miss Beaumont." His voice was low, textured with whiskey and late nights. He extended his hand. She placed her hand in his, expecting a business handshake. Instead, his fingers closed around hers with unexpected warmth, holding a moment longer than necessary. Heat sparked where their skin connected. A waiter materialized, pouring champagne. "Dom Perignon, 2008, Dominic said, watching her face. "Maya mentioned you appreciate vintage wines." And of course she did, Zara thought with irritation. Her best friend had provided detailed reconnaissance. "She talks too much," Zara replied, taking a measured sip. "Does she?" He smiled. "Or perhaps she talks exactly the right amount. Without her meddling, you wouldn't be here. Without her meddling, I'd be home with my cat and a book. Langston," he said, "named after Langston Hughes, and you're currently reading Toni Morrison's essays. You prefer her non-fiction for its raw honesty." Zara set down her glass with deliberate care. "Maya told you about my cat and my reading preferences. She painted a portrait. I find portraits fascinating. What people choose to reveal, what they try to hide." He leaned forward. "For instance, you arrived exactly 1 minute before our reservation, which suggests punctuality matters, but you didn't want to appear eager. Your coat is vintage, restored by hand, which tells me you value craftsmanship over labels. And you've positioned your phone on the table, preparing your escape route." Heat crept up Zara's neck. "You're very observant, Mr. Ashford. Dominic, please. And yes, observation is essential in my business." He paused. "You're afraid of this." "I'm not afraid of anything." "Liar!" The word hung between them, neither accusation nor insult, simply stated fact. "You don't know me." Not yet, but I'd like to. And I think that terrifies you more than anything, the possibility that someone might actually see you. This wasn't how blind dates proceeded. Instead, Dominic Ashford had bypassed all pretense and walked straight into territory she kept guarded. "This was a mistake," she said, reaching for her phone. "Stay, please. I apologize." He stopped, and for the first time she saw something crack in his polished exterior. "I'm better at boardrooms than first dates." "Honesty," Zara supplied. Vulnerability. Against her better judgment, Zara felt her defenses lower an inch. "Maya has been relentless about setting me up. She thinks I've been alone too long." "Have you?" "I prefer to think of it as selective." "So do I." His smile returned, softer. "My assistant maintains a list of potential dates. I attend the required functions, smile for photographers, and never call again. It's efficient. It's horrible. It is, but it's safe. No expectations, no disappointments. No one gets hurt. No one gets anything real either." "No," he agreed, "they don't." The food that arrived was exquisite. Seared scallops, duck breast glazed in cherry reduction, chocolate souffle that collapsed like a sigh. They talked, really talked. He told her about boarding schools across Europe, parents who valued duty over affection. She spoke about growing up in Baltimore, raised by her grandmother after her mother disappeared into addiction, how art became her language. "You curated the Morrison exhibition at the Whitney last spring," Dominic said. "I attended the opening. I watched you give a tour. You spoke with such passion that a businessman next to me started crying." "You were there." "I bought 2 pieces. They hang in my office." He paused. "I wanted to approach you that night, but you disappeared." "I always disappear," Zara said quietly. "I've noticed." By the time dessert arrived, Zara had forgotten her 60-minute escape plan. The conversation flowed like wine, rich, intoxicating, easy. They debated Baldwin versus Wright, discovered shared obsessions with old jazz records and obscure French films, and beneath every word ran desire, not simple physical attraction, but the pull of 2 people who'd built fortresses around their hearts, recognizing similar architecture in each other. "Tell me about the scar," Dominic said suddenly, gesturing toward her left wrist. Zara's hand moved to cover it, but he caught her fingers gently. "A car accident, when I was 19. Try again." She looked up sharply. His eyes held hers, no judgment, only patience. "His name was Marcus. We dated for 2 years. He didn't like when I disagreed with him. The scar is from when I tried to leave and he didn't want me to go." Dominic's hand tightened around hers. Something flickered in his eyes. Rage quickly banked. "Where is he now?" "Prison. 18 months for assault." "That was 6 years ago. And you've been alone by choice, because it's safer than risking someone having that kind of power over you again." Zara felt exposed. "You're doing it again." "What?" "Seeing through me. Would you like me to stop?" She should say yes, should protect herself. But when she opened her mouth, what came out was, "No." Dominic stood, extending his hand. "Walk with me." Zara took his hand. They left Lumiere together, stepping into October night. They walked without destination through Fifth Avenue, Central Park's lamplit paths, alongside the reservoir where moonlight scattered across dark water. "I don't do this," Zara said suddenly. "Open up. Trust." "Neither do I." Dominic stopped, turning to face her. Behind him, the Manhattan skyline rose like a crown of light. "I have a reputation. You've probably heard the stories. That you collect women like art pieces and discard them just as quickly. Essentially accurate. I've never wanted more than temporary, never met anyone who made me want to try. Until Until tonight. Until you. His hand lifted, fingertips grazing her cheek. Until a woman walked into a restaurant looking for an escape route. Don't, Zara whispered. Don't make this into something it's not. Your private jets and penthouse apartments. I'm a curator who takes the subway. Our worlds don't intersect. They're intersecting right now. For tonight. Tomorrow you'll go back to your world and I'll go back to mine. And if I don't want it to work that way, what do you want, Dominic? Honestly, I don't know. But standing here with you, I just want tomorrow and the day after. I want to know what makes you laugh. I want all the small, ordinary things I've never wanted before. You're scared. Terrified. So am I. Then be scared with me. His hand cupped her face. One more date. Just don't disappear. Every instinct screamed at her to refuse, but Zara had spent 6 years running, and she was tired. One more date, she heard herself say. Dominic's relief was palpable. He pulled her closer, pressing his lips to her forehead, a gesture so tender it undid her completely. They stood there, wrapped in each other beneath indifferent stars, while something dangerous and inevitable took root between them. Across the reservoir, a woman watched from the shadows. Victoria Blackwell lowered her phone, the screen showing the photograph she'd just captured, Dominic holding an unknown woman. She opened her contacts, scrolling to a private investigator. Find out everything about her, she typed. Everything. Victoria smiled. Everyone had secrets, and secrets, properly deployed, could destroy anything, even love. Unaware of the storm gathering, Zara let Dominic hail her a taxi. He helped her inside, his fingers lingering on hers. Tomorrow, 7 o'clock. I'll text you the address. How do you have my number? Maya. I asked for it after the first 5 minutes. Despite everything, Zara laughed. You're dangerous, Dominic Ashford. So are you, Zara Beaumont. He closed the door. So are you. As the taxi pulled away, Zara watched him through the rear window. He stood there, hands in pockets, watching her disappear. Her phone buzzed. Already miss you. Tomorrow can't come soon enough. Zara stared at the message. She should be sensible. Should protect herself. Instead, she typed, "Me too." And as Manhattan blurred past in streams of light and shadow, Zara Beaumont realized her carefully constructed escape plan had failed completely. She wasn't running anymore. She was falling. Zara woke to sunlight and wildflowers. The bouquet sat on her gallery desk Monday morning, not roses but black-eyed Susans, purple cone flowers, wild asters arranged in a rustic wooden box. The card, handwritten, "Your grandmother's garden." Maya mentioned you spent childhood summers there. I wanted you to have a piece of that today. D. Her grandmother's garden in Baltimore. She'd mentioned it once to Maya, years ago, after too much wine. Dominic remembered. More than that, he understood what it meant. Maya appeared in the doorway, eyebrows raised. So, how was the date? Perfect, Zara admitted, which terrifies me. Because men like him don't change, and I don't know if I can survive being someone's phase. What if you're not a phase? What if he's serious? Zara touched one delicate petal. Then I'm even more terrified. The next 2 weeks proved Maya right. Dominic pursued Zara with focus that should have felt suffocating but somehow didn't. He appeared at her gallery opening, not to network but to listen as she spoke about art. He bought pieces from emerging artists she championed, asked intelligent questions, never overshadowed her work. They had dinner at hole-in-the-wall restaurants in Queens where nobody recognized him, walked through Brooklyn flea markets where he haggled over vintage records with unexpected enthusiasm, spent Sunday afternoon in her apartment with Langston, purring between them while she read Baldwin aloud, and he made her laugh with deliberately terrible impressions. He sent gifts, never diamonds, but first-edition novels and rare art catalogues that revealed how deeply he was paying attention. A vintage Coltrane record she'd mentioned wanting, tickets to a French film festival, small things that said, "I see you," louder than any grand gesture. It was perfect. It was terrifying. It was everything Zara had promised herself she'd never want again. "You're falling for him," Maya observed one afternoon, half panic, half euphoria. "What if I am? Then I'd say it's about time. But also, be careful. Patterns run deep." The words planted seeds of doubt. That evening, when Dominic called with an invitation, a weekend at his house in the Hamptons, she almost declined. "Just 2 days," he said. "Private beach, no obligations. I want to cook for you, show you the sunsets." A pause. Is that too much? Yes, Zara thought. Too much, too fast. But what she said was, "When do we leave?" They departed Friday afternoon in his Aston Martin, top down despite October chill. Zara wrapped herself in cashmere, watching Manhattan dissolve into suburbs, then rolling Long Island landscapes. Dominic drove with easy confidence, one hand occasionally reaching over to touch her knee, her hand, her jaw, small gestures of connection, confirming she was real. "Storm coming," he said, as they pulled up to the house, a masterpiece of glass and steel perched on a bluff overlooking the Atlantic. "Weather service says it'll hit tonight. We might be stuck here until Sunday." Something flickered in Zara's chest, being trapped with Dominic for 48 hours, no escape route. "We can go back if you're uncomfortable," he said, reading her expression. "I trust you," she said. The words surprised them both. The interior was stunning but warm, lived in. Books stacked on tables, a worn chess set, framed photographs that looked personal. In one, a young Dominic, maybe 8, grinned at the camera, gap-toothed and unself-conscious. "That's the last photo where I look genuinely happy," he said, "taken right before my parents sent me to boarding school. I cried for 3 weeks." "How old were you?" 8. Old enough to understand they didn't want me around." Zara's heart clenched. "That doesn't make it okay." "No, but therapy taught me the difference between explanation and excuse." He pulled her close. "You make me want to break those patterns. Be different. You can't just decide to be different. Maybe not. But with you, I want to try." He cooked while she explored. Pasta with clams in white wine and garlic, crusty bread, wine that paired perfectly. They ate at a table positioned before windows, watching the storm intensify. Lightning fractured the sky, thunder rolled, rain lashed glass like something desperate to get in. "Tell me about Marcus," Dominic said suddenly. Zara's fork stilled. "Why?" "Because he's the reason you're afraid. I need to understand what I'm fighting against." She could have deflected. Instead, honesty spilled out. "I met him at 26, charming, attentive, for 6 months perfect. Then small things started, comments about my clothes, irritation when I stayed late at work, anger if I didn't text back immediately. Classic control pattern." Exactly. By the time I realized I was isolated. He'd removed every support system, convinced me my friends were jealous, my grandmother too old to understand. Her voice dropped. "The night I tried to leave, he broke my wrist and put his hands around my throat. My grandmother found me, called police while he screamed that I'd provoked him." "Where is he now?" "Served 18 months, got out 4 years ago, moved to California, new wife, fresh start." Dominic's hand found hers. "You weren't stupid. You were manipulated. Part of me knew something was wrong, ignored it because I didn't want to be alone." "Stop." His voice was sharp. "Stop blaming yourself for someone else's cruelty. I understand perfectly, because I do the same thing." He stood, moving to windows. "I told you my mother left when I was 14. What I didn't tell you is she came back. 3 times. Each time my father promised things would be different. Each time, within months, he'd retreat into emotional distance and she'd leave again. He turned, raw pain in his eyes. I watched him destroy her. Watched her love him despite knowing it would never be enough. I swore I'd never be like him, never care enough to hurt someone. So I built this perfect fortress. Money, power, control, women I could walk away from, safe, empty. Until you. Until I realized being alone wasn't safety, just a different prison. He knelt beside her chair. Until a woman walked into Lumiere looking for an escape route and found all my walls. Thunder crashed. The lights flickered, died, plunging them into darkness broken only by lightning strobe. Generator should kick in, Dominic said. Minutes passed. The darkness remained. He located candles, lighting them until the room glowed warm. The storm raged beyond windows, wind howling, ocean throwing itself against shore in violent waves. Cocooned by candlelight and storm, the world narrowed to just them. Pretenses dissolved, leaving only raw truth. Dominic built a fire. They migrated to the couch, wrapped in cashmere. Zara curled against his chest, where she could hear his heartbeat. "I'm terrified," she whispered. "Of what? How much I want this to be real." His arms tightened. "It is real, Zara. The most real thing I've ever felt. But you've never stayed before. I've never had a reason to stay. I do now." She tilted her head back, finding his eyes in firelight. "How do I know you mean it? Look at me. Really look. See me." In flickering light she did. Saw the lonely boy who'd learned too early that love was conditional. Saw the man who'd built an empire to prove his worth but never felt worthy. Saw vulnerability and desperate hope. "I see you," she breathed. "Then you know I'm not playing games. You make me want things I've never wanted, feel things I've spent 38 years avoiding." His thumb traced her lip. "I don't know if I'm capable of being the man you deserve, but I want to try." Zara's resistance shattered. She kissed him with all her pent-up longing and fear. His response was fierce, pulling her closer as if he could merge them into one person. They tumbled together, hands exploring, barriers dissolving. His touch was reverent, learning her body like art, with patience and genuine desire to understand. "Wait," he gasped, pulling back. "If we do this, I've had sex, plenty, but I've never made love, never let someone see me this vulnerable. If we cross this line, there's no going back. Not for me." "I'm scared," she admitted. "So am I." "But I'm done running." She pulled him down. "Make love to me, Dominic, because we're both tired of being alone." Something broke in his expression. Relief and desire and raw emotion. They made love before the fire while the storm raged, desperate and tender, fierce and gentle. He whispered her name like a prayer. She clung to him like salvation. Afterward they lay tangled together. Dominic's fingers traced patterns on her shoulder. "I love you," he said quietly. "I know it's too soon, but I love you, Zara, and I need you to know even if you can't say it back." Tears slipped down Zara's cheeks. She'd promised herself she'd never give someone this much power again. But lying in Dominic's arms, feeling cherished and seen, she realized the opposite of control isn't chaos. It's trust. "I love you too," she whispered, "and it terrifies me. We'll be terrified together." And they fell asleep wrapped in each other, the fire burning low, storm still raging but distant. Zara woke to harsh sunlight and cold sheets. The storm had passed. Through windows, the ocean sparkled innocent blue. But Dominic was gone. Panic fluttered in her chest. She grabbed his shirt, pulling it on as she searched. "Dominic?" She found him on the deck, phone pressed to ear, back rigid with tension, fully dressed, every inch the CEO, the transformation from last night's vulnerable lover jarring. "I don't care what the board thinks," he was saying, voice cold. "Kill the deal." He turned, seeing her, and something flickered in his eyes before the mask slammed back. "I have to go," he said into the phone, then ended the call. They stared at each other, last night's intimacy feeling like hallucination. "Morning?" he said formally, distantly. "What's going on?" "Business crisis. Nothing you need to worry about." "Dominic!" "We should head back. I have meetings I can't miss." Zara caught his arm. "What happened? Last night you said you loved me. This morning you can barely look at me. I do love you. That's the problem." "How is that a problem?" "Because I've never felt this way before. Because I gave you power to destroy me, and this morning I realized how terrifying that is. So you're running." "Yes, okay? Yes, I'm running, because this is too much, too fast, and I don't know how to be this vulnerable and still function." Zara felt slapped. "So, what was last night, a mistake?" "No, God, no. Last night was everything. But it showed me that I'm exactly what everyone says, a man who takes what he wants and doesn't know how to keep it." "That's not true." "Isn't it? My longest relationship lasted 3 months, and now I'm supposed to believe I can give you what you need. You're not your father. You don't know that. Maybe we moved too fast. Maybe we need to step back." "Don't." Zara's voice was ice. "Don't try to put this back in a box. You can't uncross that line. I don't know how to move forward without destroying us. You're so afraid of becoming your father that you're fulfilling the prophecy. You're doing exactly what you swore you'd never do, hurting someone because you're too scared to try." Dominic flinched. "I don't want to hurt you." "Too late. You already have." They stood separated by a chasm of fear and doubt. The ocean sparkled behind them, indifferent. "What do you want me to say? I don't need perfect, I need honest. And right now you're lying, to me and yourself, about being capable of this. You showed me last night, but you're choosing fear over possibility." She moved toward the door. "When you're ready to stop running, you know where to find me. Until then, don't contact me. Give me the space you clearly need." "Zara, wait." But she was gone, gathering her things, leaving Dominic alone with only the ocean and his crushing fear for company. 20 minutes later, she was in a taxi heading back to the city, still wearing his shirt, watching the Hamptons house disappear. And Dominic Ashford stood in his glass sanctuary and realized the emptiness he'd spent his life avoiding had just swallowed him whole. He'd finally found something real, and he'd destroyed it before it could destroy him. 3 weeks of silence, 21 days during which Zara threw herself into work with manic intensity, staying at the gallery until midnight, accepting every speaking engagement, every distraction that would keep her from thinking about winter blue eyes and hands that had mapped her body like sacred territory. It didn't work. Dominic was everywhere. In the coffee shop where they'd shared Sunday mornings, in the jazz through her apartment speakers, in the empty space beside her in bed. She'd deleted his number but still found herself reaching for her phone, muscle memory stronger than willpower. "You need to talk to him," Maya said one afternoon, "or let him go completely. This limbo is destroying you." He made his choice. Did he? You both panicked and ran in opposite directions. Maybe. But Zara didn't have the energy to dissect it. Work was safe. Work made sense. Work couldn't break her heart. Then the envelope arrived. It came on a Tuesday morning, delivered by courier. Plain manila, marked confidential. Zara almost tossed it, but something made her open it. Inside, legal paperwork, property records, emails, photographs. Her hands trembled as she spread them across her desk, puzzle pieces assembling into a picture she didn't want to see. The building housing Beaumont Collective she'd always rented from an LLC. Except now, staring at property transfer documents dated 8 months ago, she knew the actual owner. Ashford Holdings. Dominic had bought her building. 8 months ago, 2 months before their blind date. Her stomach lurched. She kept reading. Emails between Dominic and his real estate team discussing the acquisition, market analysis, and one line that made her blood run cold. The current tenant, Beaumont Collective, presents interesting potential synergies. Recommend further investigation. More documents, a background check on her. Detailed, invasive, her credit score, relationship history, her grandmother's death. Information he'd pretended to learn organically that he'd actually known all along. Photographs. Dominic outside her gallery, dated weeks before their blind date. Dominic at the Whitney during her Morrison exhibition. Time-stamped and damning, suggesting surveillance, calculation, a game she hadn't known she was playing. The final document was a printed email, dated 1 week before their blind date. From Dominic Ashford to Victoria Blackwell, re the Beaumont situation. Victoria, I've reviewed your proposal regarding the Chelsea property. Your suggestion about the gallery curator is intriguing. A personal connection could smooth the transition when we move forward with redevelopment. I'll take your advice about Maya Chen's matchmaking tendencies. Well played. Zara read it 3 times, each pass making the betrayal sharper. Victoria Blackwell, Dominic's ex-fiancée, conspiring with him, advising him on how to manipulate her. The blind date wasn't chance. The connection wasn't real. She'd been a target all along. Acquisition wrapped in romance. Business disguised as love. Everything was a lie. Zara? Maya appeared in the doorway, face paling when she saw the documents. What is that? Read it. Maya's expression darkened with each page. That bastard. You set us up. Did he ask you to? What? No! Maya's shock seemed genuine. He asked about you after we met at that fundraiser, seemed interested, so I thought... She stopped, realization dawning. He played me too. Zara barely made it to the bathroom before her stomach rebelled. Maya held her hair, murmuring comfort, but there was no comfort to be found. When the wave passed, Zara sat on cold tile, head in hands. Who sent this? Maya asked. Zara found a note tucked in the envelope. Thought you should know the truth about the man you've been crying over. Some people collect art, others collect hearts. A friend, not signed. But Zara would bet her gallery it came from Victoria Blackwell. I need to confront him, Zara said. Absolutely not. Stay away from that sociopath. No. He doesn't get to do this and just walk away. Ashford Capital occupied the top 15 floors of a glass tower in Midtown. Zara walked past security with confidence, heading straight for executive elevators. I'm here to see Dominic Ashford, she told the guard who called after her. Tell him Zara Beaumont is on her way up. He'll want to see me. Something in her tone made the guard reach for his phone instead of stopping her. The 48th floor was polished marble and understated elegance. Dominic's assistant took one look at Zara's face and simply pointed. Conference room B. He's with the board. Through glass walls, Zara could see Dominic at the head of a long table, surrounded by men in expensive suits, presentation slides glowing behind him. He looked perfect, polished, in control. She pushed open the door without knocking. Conversation stopped. 12 pairs of eyes swiveled toward her. Dominic's expression transformed. Shock, then something like relief, before settling on carefully blank. Gentlemen, we'll continue this later. Please excuse us. Dominic, we're in the middle of... Now! Absolute authority. Leave! They filed out. When the door clicked shut, Dominic rounded the table toward her. Zara, I've been trying to reach you. Don't! She threw the envelope at him, papers scattered across polished wood. Dominic stared at them, his face going grey. Want to explain this? Zara's voice shook. You bought my building 8 months ago, had me investigated, orchestrated our meeting. She laughed bitterly. The blind date wasn't random. You and Victoria, planning how to manipulate the naive gallery owner. It's not. It's more complicated. Is it? Those documents seem straightforward. You targeted me. Yes, I bought your building. Yes, I had you investigated. Standard practice before acquisitions. But the blind date, I swear, I didn't orchestrate that. This email says otherwise. Dominic picked up the printed message, jaw tightening. This is out of context. Then provide context. Silence. Finally, Victoria suggested I meet you, said Maya mentioned you were single. I was curious. You'd impress me at the Whitney. And yes, I already knew about the building. When Victoria mentioned it, I told Maya I'd be open to a blind date. You manipulated my best friend. I suggested to Maya we might be compatible. She ran with it. He set down the email. The date was real. My feelings were real. But you didn't tell me about the building. No. Or the investigation. No. So you just decided withholding massive information didn't count as lying. I was going to tell you. I was waiting for the right time. There is no right way to explain this. 8 months, Dominic. We've been together nearly a month, and you never once thought to mention you're my landlord planning to redevelop my gallery out of existence? That's not the plan anymore. What? The redevelopment. I killed it. 3 weeks ago that morning on the deck. That phone call, I was telling my team to cancel everything. The building's yours. I'm transferring ownership free and clear. The words didn't compute. Why? Because I love you. Because the thought of hurting you makes me ill. Because this stopped being about business and became about everything. You became everything. Zara wanted to believe him. You had 3 weeks to tell me this. 3 weeks while I fell apart. Why didn't you contact me? Because you told me not to. Because I was trying to respect your boundaries while handling this. He gestured at documents. I've been working to untangle the business side, make sure transferring the property wouldn't impact your gallery's status. I wanted solutions, not just apologies. I didn't need solutions. I needed honesty. You're right, I should have told you from the beginning. Should have been transparent and let you make an informed choice. But I was terrified that if you knew, you'd never give me a chance. And instead, I found out like this, which is so much better. He flinched. No, it's worse. And I'm sorry, Zara. I'm so fucking sorry. The apology landed hollow. Zara looked at this man she'd loved, still loved, and felt the chasm between them widen. Who sent me these documents? I don't know. Victoria's the obvious suspect. You're still in contact with your ex-fiancée, the woman who helped you target me. She's on the board of one of my portfolio companies. Professional interactions only. His expression darkened. If she did this, I'll handle it. Don't bother. I don't care about Victoria. I care that you lied to me, that you made me believe we were building something real when you were managing an acquisition. It was real. It is real. Is it? I can't tell the difference between love and strategy anymore. She reached for the door. Zara, please, let me make it right. How? Transferring the building doesn't undo the deception. It just proves you're good at damage control. Then tell me what you need. I need time, space. I need to figure out if anything between us was real or if I fell in love with a performance. You fell in love with me, the real me. Everything we shared was genuine. Was it? Because the real you includes lying by omission, manipulating people, mixing business with personal relationships. So, which version am I supposed to believe in? Dominic had no answer. I love you, he said quietly. That's the only thing I'm certain of. I wish that was enough, but love without trust is just pain, with better window dressing. She walked out, leaving him standing alone, surrounded by scattered evidence of his betrayal. Zara made it to the elevator before tears came, made it to street level before her knees gave out. She sat on a bench shaking, while Manhattan surged around her. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Saw you leaving Ashford Capital. Well played. Coffee? I think we have things to discuss. VB Victoria Blackwell. Zara should ignore it, should go home, let Maya bring wine and righteous fury. But anger was building beneath grief, hot, righteous, demanding outlet. Victoria had weaponized information to destroy what they'd built. She typed back, "Where and when?" The response was immediate. Bar Central. 30 minutes. Bar Central was dark wood and vintage photographs. Victoria sat at a corner table, immaculate in Chanel and diamonds, martini in hand. Beautiful in that calculated way, personal trainers, dermatologists, stylists. But her eyes were hard, assessing Zara like competition. Zara Beaumont. You're more beautiful than in the surveillance photos. I can see why Dominic got distracted. You sent me those documents. Guilty. Victoria smiled, sipping her martini. Though technically my investigator assembled them, I just ensured they reached you. Why? Because Dominic is mine, has been for years, and I don't share. Zara laughed harshly. He's not a possession. Isn't he? We were engaged once, 3 years together. Then he got cold feet, broke it off, broke my heart. Her smile sharpened. But he always comes back, and he will this time too once he realizes you're just another phase. So you destroyed us to speed up the process? I saved you from heartbreak down the line. Men like Dominic don't change. He'll chase you for a few more months if you play hard to get, but eventually novelty wears off. You get discarded. The words were designed to wound. But looking at Victoria's brittle perfection, the desperation beneath diamonds, Zara realized something. You still love him. Victoria's mask slipped. Of course I do. I've loved him for years, waited patiently while he played his games, and then you with your thrift store coats and your little gallery. That's what this is really about. Not protecting me, protecting yourself. Does it matter? The result's the same. Except I'm not done. The words surprised Zara. And you've just convinced me I shouldn't be. Victoria's eyes narrowed. Excuse me. You're right that Dominic has patterns, but people can break patterns if they have reason enough. Zara stood. Love isn't about possession. It's about choice. And Dominic chose me. Not perfectly, not without mistakes. But he chose. He lied to you. He did. And I'm furious. But the difference between him and you is his lies came from fear of losing me. Yours come from fear of not owning him. Zara leaned down. Thank you for the documents. They showed me the worst of what I'm dealing with. But they also showed me that even at his most manipulative, Dominic was trying to protect something he cared about. You? You're just trying to destroy it. She left Victoria sputtering, walking into October evening with newfound clarity. Yes, Dominic had lied. Yes, the betrayal was real and devastating, but Victoria was wrong. Dominic's feelings weren't performance. She'd seen the real him, vulnerable, terrified, desperately trying to be worthy of love, and maybe that was worth fighting for, even if it meant wading through hurt and rebuilding trust from rubble, because the alternative, walking away from something real because it was complicated, that was Victoria's life, polished and empty and safe. Zara had spent 6 years choosing safe. Maybe it was time to choose brave instead. She called Maya from the street. I need you to set up a meeting. Dominic, tomorrow night, the gallery, after closing. Zara paused. And Maya? Tell him to bring his truth, all of it. No more lies, no more omissions. If we're going to do this, really do this, we start from scratch. Complete honesty, complete transparency. Are you sure? Not even a little bit. But I'm doing it anyway. Because sometimes the bravest thing wasn't walking away. Sometimes it was choosing to stay, eyes wide open, fully aware of the risks, and trusting that love real love, was worth the fall. The gallery was dark when Dominic arrived at 7 o'clock, only emergency exit signs casting dim red light across white walls. He'd been standing outside for 10 minutes, gathering courage before finally pressing the buzzer. Zara appeared like a ghost in shadows, unlocking the door without a word. She dressed simply. Black jeans, soft grey sweater, natural hair pulled back, no armor, just her, raw and real. She looked exhausted. Beautiful, always beautiful, but carrying the weight of their shattered trust like physical burden. "Thank you for seeing me," Dominic said quietly. "Don't thank me yet. You might not like what I have to say." She led him into the main exhibition space where her photography show still hung. Powerful black and white images of southern landscapes, empty roads and weathered churches. She'd told him once she loved this collection because it captured absence as much as presence. He understood that better now. Zara turned to face him, arms crossed protectively. "Maya said you wanted to talk. So talk." Dominic had prepared a speech, spent 3 sleepless nights crafting perfect words. But standing here, all his careful rhetoric crumbled. "I don't know how to fix this," he said instead. "I've spent my entire life solving problems, making deals, finding angles. But this, us, I don't know how to solve it, and that terrifies me." "Good. You should be terrified." "I am. I brought something." He pulled an envelope from his jacket, cream-colored, expensive. "Documents transferring your building to your name. Free and clear, no mortgages, no liens. Plus a fund to cover property taxes and maintenance for the next 10 years. Zara stared at the envelope like it might bite. "You think you can buy your way out of this?" "No. But I can remove one source of inequality between us. The building gave me power over you. I'm giving that power back." "I don't want it." He blinked. "What?" "I don't want the building. Not like this. If you give it to me now, I'll always wonder if it's guilt or genuine. I can't build a relationship on wondering." "Then what do you want?" "I want honesty. Complete, uncomfortable, terrifying honesty." She moved closer. "I met with Victoria yesterday." Dominic's jaw tightened. "She had no right. She told me she still loves you, that you'll always come back to her, that I'm just a phase." "That's insane. I don't love Victoria. I never loved Victoria." "She also said you were engaged for 3 years. That's not nothing." "It was a business arrangement that occasionally involved feelings." He ran a hand through his hair. "Victoria and I made sense on paper. Same circles, same expectations. Her family's money aligned with my ambitions. For a while I convinced myself that was enough, that love was just strategic partnership." "What changed?" "I did. Therapy helped me see I was building the same empty life my parents had, all performance, no substance, so I ended it. Hurt her, I know, but staying would have hurt worse. She's been persistent ever since." "Persistent enough to sabotage us?" "Apparently. My security team investigated. Victoria hired the investigator who compiled that report. She's been tracking me for months, waiting for an opportunity. When she saw us together that first night, she decided to eliminate the competition. By exposing your lies." "Yes." "So in a twisted way, I should thank her." Dominic flinched. "You deserve to know from me. I was a coward. I told myself I was waiting for the right moment. But the truth is, I was terrified that if you knew, you'd leave. So I kept postponing, hoping I could make you love me enough that the deception wouldn't matter. Love doesn't work that way. I know that now. I've spent 3 weeks living with consequences of my choices. I haven't slept more than 2 hours a night. Can't eat. Can't focus. My assistant staged an intervention yesterday because I've been so volatile, the board's threatening a vote of no confidence. I'm not responsible for your well-being. I know. But you asked for honesty, so here it is. Losing you has broken something in me I didn't know could break. And I don't want it fixed. I want to stay broken, because this pain reminds me that what we had was real, that I'm capable of feeling something beyond ambition and control. Zara's eyes glistened. That's not fair. You don't get to make your suffering my problem. You're right. Nothing about this is fair. He pulled out his phone, scrolling to a document. More honesty. This is my resignation letter. Effective in 6 months, I'm stepping down as CEO of Ashford Capital. Her eyes widened. What? Why? Because I've spent 15 years building an empire at the expense of building a life. Because success means nothing if you have no one to share it with. He pocketed the phone. I'm not quitting business entirely, but I'm restructuring. Smaller portfolio, more focused investments, reasonable hours, giving myself space to be more than just the ruthless CEO. You're doing this because of me? I'm doing this because of us. Because I want to be the man you deserve, and that man can't exist while I'm married to a company that demands everything and gives nothing back. He paused. But I'm also doing it for me. Because somewhere between board meetings and acquisition strategies, I forgot who I was. You reminded me. Zara turned away, overwhelmed. This is too much, too fast. I don't expect it to fix anything. These are choices I'm making regardless of whether we get back together, because even if you walk away permanently, you've changed me, shown me a different way to live, and I can't go back to who I was before you. Silence stretched between them, weighted with everything unsaid. Tell me about the investigation, Zara said finally. Everything. Dominic nodded. After the Whitney exhibition, I couldn't stop thinking about you. So I did what I always do. Research. Background check. Credit history. Public records. Clinical. Detached. Treating you like any business interest. How did that make you feel? Powerful at first. Knowledge is control, and I'm addicted to control. But then I started reading about your grandmother, her death. And I found myself crying in my office at 2 a.m. over a woman I'd never met, mourning with a stranger through documentation. Zara's breath caught. That's when I knew this was different. I wasn't researching an opportunity. I was falling for a person, but by then I'd already crossed ethical lines, invaded your privacy inexcusably, and I didn't know how to walk it back. So you just didn't. So I told myself that when we met, I'd be honest about everything. Give you all the information and let you choose. He laughed bitterly. Except I didn't, because the moment I saw you walk into Lumiere, all my carefully constructed integrity collapsed. I wanted you too much to risk the truth. And now I'm giving you the truth, even though it's 3 weeks too late and probably won't change anything. He pulled out another document. This is every piece of information I have on you. Everything the investigator found. I want you to read it, understand how deep the invasion went, and then tell me if there's any possible way to move forward. Zara took the document, hands trembling. She read in silence, emotions playing across her face, shock, violation, anger, and finally, something like understanding. You know about Marcus's parole hearing, she said quietly, pointing to a line. Yes, it's in 2 months. And if you need support, I'll be there. Not as your boyfriend or lover or anything except someone who cares and wants to help carry the burden. Why would you do that? Because you shouldn't have to face him alone. Because I know what it's like to carry trauma everyone expects you to be over. Because I love you, Zara, and love means showing up, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you're not asked, even when there's no guarantee of anything in return. Tears spilled down Zara's cheeks. I hate that you know all this about me. I know. I hate that I know it this way too. But I also... She stopped, pressing a hand to her chest. I also feel seen in a way I've never felt before. Like you looked at all my broken parts and didn't flinch. Didn't try to fix me or save me or treat me like I was fragile. You're not fragile. You're the strongest person I've ever met. I'm really not. I'm terrified that if I let you back in, you'll destroy me. That this time the damage will be permanent. Then don't let me back in. Not fully, not yet. He took a careful step closer. Let me earn my way back. Let me prove through actions, not words, that I can be trusted. Give me 3 months. 3 months where we start over, completely transparent, building from scratch. No sex, no relationship pressure, just getting to know each other honestly. And at the end of 3 months, you decide, stay or go. I'll accept whatever you choose. That's insane. Probably. But it's the only way I can think of to rebuild what I destroyed. Zara studied him, weighing, measuring. What if I say no? What if I can't get past this? Then I live with the consequences of my choices. Spend the rest of my life knowing I found something real and destroyed it through my own cowardice. He smiled sadly. I won't lie and say I'll be fine. I won't. But I'll survive. And hopefully I'll be better for having known you, even briefly. You really love me. With everything I am. Everything I'm capable of becoming. More tears fell. Zara wiped them away impatiently. I met with Victoria to tell her off. But sitting across from her, watching her bitterness and desperation, I realized something. What? That I could become her. Spending years chasing safety. Building walls so high nobody could hurt me, but nobody could reach me either. Bitter and alone, and convinced it was everyone else's fault. She looked up at him. I don't want to be her, Dominic. I don't want to let fear win. What do you want? I want to be brave enough to try, even though it terrifies me, even though you might break my heart, even though there's no guarantee. She closed the distance between them, placing her hand over his heart. I want to choose possibility over safety. Choose you, broken and honest and trying, over perfect and empty and alone. Relief crashed through Dominic so powerfully his knees nearly buckled. Are you sure? Not remotely. But I'm doing it anyway. He pulled her into his arms, holding her like she was the only solid thing in a shifting world. She clung back, and they stood there surrounded by photographs of absence and presence, learning how to hold each other without gripping too tight. 3 months, Zara murmured against his chest. Starting from scratch. Complete honesty. Complete honesty, he agreed. And therapy. Together, because we're both disasters who need professional help. He laughed, the sound watery with relief. Couples therapy, God, we're really doing this. Apparently, she pulled back to look at him. But Dominic, if you lie to me again, if you withhold anything important, even if you think it's for my own good, we're done, permanently, no second chances. Understood, complete transparency from here forward. Good. She kissed him softly, carefully, a promise more than passion. Now get out of my gallery. I need to close up, and if you stay, I'll do something stupid like forgive you completely instead of making you work for it. Yes, ma'am. He moved toward the door, then turned back. Zara, thank you for being brave enough for both of us. Don't thank me yet. You still have 3 months of proving yourself. I plan to make it difficult. Good. I don't trust easy things anymore. He left, stepping into October night, and Zara locked the door behind him. Then she slid down to sit on the gallery floor, back against the wall, overwhelmed. She'd chosen brave. Now she just had to hope brave chose her back. The 3 months were excruciating. Dominic showed up exactly when he said he would. Never early, never late. Respecting boundaries with painful precision. They had coffee on Tuesdays, dinner on Fridays, Sunday walks through museums where they discussed art and carefully avoided touching. He was transparent to the point of discomfort. Shared his therapy sessions, his struggles with control, the daily battle between wanting to possess her and learning to simply be with her. Showed her his calendar, his finances, introduced her to his mother during a tense lunch where old wounds surfaced and began, tentatively, to heal. Zara reciprocated, brought him to her therapist, let him see her vulnerability. The nights she woke gasping from nightmares where Marcus's hands were around her throat. Dominic held her through panic attacks, never trying to fix, just present. They attended couples therapy every Wednesday, sat on opposite ends of a couch while Dr. Chen asked impossible questions and made them sit with uncomfortable truths. Learned to communicate without assumptions, to voice needs without demands, to accept that love required constant work. It wasn't romantic, it was raw and difficult and often painful, but it was real. He's different, Maya observed 6 weeks in. Not just performing, actually different. I know, Zara admitted. It terrifies me how much I want to believe it. Then believe it, or don't, but stop waiting for him to fail. That's just fear with better packaging. Victoria tried one more sabotage, spreading rumors about Zara's relationship with Marcus, implying she'd provoked the violence. It backfired spectacularly when Dominic held a press conference, publicly defending Zara and condemning domestic violence with such raw passion that 3 major corporations hired him as a consultant for their harassment policies. The tabloids pivoted from mocking him to praising him. Victoria finally retreated, her bitterness no match for genuine transformation. At the 3-month mark, they met at the gallery. Zara had planned a speech, points she wanted to address, concerns still lingering. But when Dominic walked in, eyes nervous, hands shaking slightly, all her carefully prepared words dissolved. "I'm still scared," she said instead. "So am I. But I want to try, really try, not just dating, but," she gestured helplessly, "building something, together." "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm choosing you anyway." Dominic crossed to her, cupping her face with hands that trembled. "I will spend every day proving you made the right choice." "You better." He kissed her then, soft and careful at first, then deeper as 3 months of restraint finally broke. They tumbled together, relearning each other, and this time it felt different. Not desperate, but deliberate. Not taking, but sharing. Afterward, wrapped in each other on the gallery floor, Dominic whispered, "I have a confession. If this is another secret, no secrets, just..." He smiled. "I bought a ring 2 months ago. It's in my safe, waiting for when we're both ready. Could be tomorrow or 5 years from now. No pressure. Just wanted you to know." Zara's breath caught. "You bought a ring?" "Complete transparency, yes. Because I knew with absolute certainty I want to marry you. But I also know we're still rebuilding. So I bought it as a promise to myself, not pressure on you. I'm not ready for marriage. I know, and that's okay. We have time." Zara kissed him, tasting salt from tears. Hers or his, she couldn't tell. "Ask me in a year." "What?" "In 1 year. If we make it, if we're still choosing each other every day, ask me then." Deal. 1 year later. The exhibition opening was packed. Manhattan's art elite crammed into Beaumont Collective's expanded space. Zara moved through the crowd with practiced grace, accepting congratulations, feeling quiet satisfaction of success earned through talent and tenacity. But her attention kept drifting to the man standing near the back, nursing sparkling water and looking slightly uncomfortable in his Tom Ford suit. Dominic caught her gaze and winked. A year. They'd made it a full year. It hadn't been easy. They'd fought, triggered each other's wounds, required regular therapy tune-ups. But they'd done it, built something real from ruins. Dominic had stepped down as CEO 6 months ago, transitioning to chairman while a new executive took operational control. He consulted 3 days a week now, spending the rest on philanthropic work, arts funding, mentorship programs, causes that fed his soul. They'd taken a trip to Baltimore together, visiting her grandmother's grave. He'd held her while she cried, then helped her plant wildflowers, transforming grief into something beautiful. She'd accompanied him to London for reconciliation with his mother, now remarried and genuinely happy, watching him finally release decades of abandonment wounds. Slowly, painstakingly, they'd built something real. Not perfect, they still struggled, but honest, based on choice rather than illusion. The crowd began to thin as evening wound down. Maya corralled the last stragglers while Zara locked up, exhausted but satisfied. "Successful night," Dominic said, appearing beside her. "Very. We sold 12 pieces, have interest in 8 more, and the Times critic looked genuinely impressed. You're brilliant. I keep telling you." "Dear, I keep telling you, flattery will get you nowhere." "Not even here?" He pulled her close, kissing her softly. A year of kisses, and it still felt like the first time, that electric pull, that sense of coming home. When they separated, he was holding a small velvet box. Zara's heart stopped. "Before you panic," Dominic said quickly, "this isn't what you think, or maybe it is." He opened the box, revealing not a ring but a key, old brass, ornate, beautiful. "This is the key to the studio in Tribeca, my real home. I want you to have it. Not because I'm pressuring you to move in, but because that space has never felt complete without you in it. Whether you use this tomorrow or a year from now or never, I want you to know my home is your home. My life is yours to share at whatever pace feels right." Tears blurred Zara's vision. "That's not a proposal." "No, though," he grinned. "I should mention that ring I told you about, still in my safe." "Still waiting? You said to ask you in a year." "It's been a year." "It has." He took a breath. "So, here's the question. Are you ready to hear me ask?" Zara's pulse hammered. A year ago, this would have terrified her. But standing here, looking at this man who'd shown up every day, who'd done the work, who'd proven through action that love could be chosen and sustained, "Yes," she whispered, "I'm ready." "Died." Dominic's hands shook as he pulled out the ring. A simple platinum band with a single emerald the exact color of the dress she'd worn that first night. "Zara Beaumont, I'm not perfect. I will mess up, trigger your wounds, struggle with my need for control, but I will also show up every day, choose you every day, love you with everything I am. Will you marry me?" "Yes." The word came out choked with tears. "Yes, you infuriating, complicated, wonderful man, yes." He slipped the ring on her finger, and they kissed while Manhattan glittered beyond the windows, indifferent to one couple's hard-won happiness. 6 months later, the wedding was small, 50 guests in the Tribeca studio surrounded by art and love. No cathedral, no society spectacle, just vows spoken before friends and family, promises made with eyes wide open to both possibility and risk. Maya served as maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Dominic's mother attended, genuinely happy for her son. Victoria sent a gift, a vintage art book with a note, "Be happy. You won." But there were no winners or losers, just 2 imperfect people who'd chosen each other despite knowing exactly how hard it would be. During the reception, as they danced to Coltrane beneath fairy lights, Dominic whispered, "No regrets?" "Thousands," Zara replied. "But none about this." "Good, because you're stuck with me now. I can think of worse fates." "Name one." She pretended to think. "Being married to someone who doesn't understand why I need 3 hours alone in galleries every Sunday. Being married to someone who doesn't appreciate that you cry during every Baldwin essay. Someone who doesn't know that morning coffee is non-negotiable, and pre-coffee conversation is grounds for divorce. Someone who doesn't think your cat is secretly plotting my murder. Langston doesn't plot. He plans. There's a difference. They dissolved into laughter, and Zara rested her head against his shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. This man had lied to her, broken her, taught her that trust could be rebuilt from ruins, and she'd done the same to him, shown him that love required vulnerability he'd spent a lifetime avoiding, demanded honesty that terrified him, insisted he become better than he'd believed possible. They'd hurt each other. They would hurt each other again. That was the nature of intimacy. Two people, imperfect and trying, navigating life's complexity together. But they'd also chosen each other, eyes wide open, fully aware of the risks. And that choice, renewed daily through action and commitment, was the most honest thing either had ever done. As the night deepened and guests departed and Manhattan glittered beyond windows, Zara and Dominic stood together in their studio-turned-ceremony space, surrounded by art and evidence of love, hard-won. "Ready to start our adventure?" Dominic asked, offering his hand. Zara took it without hesitation. "Always," she said, "as long as it's with you." And hand in hand, they stepped forward into their beautifully imperfect future. Two people who'd learned the hardest lesson, that real love isn't about perfection. It's about showing up, being honest, choosing courage over comfort, and believing, despite everything, that some things are worth the risk of falling. Because sometimes the bravest thing isn't walking away or staying safe behind walls built from old wounds. Sometimes the bravest thing is letting go of fear, of control, of the stories we tell ourselves about who we are and what we deserve. Sometimes the bravest thing is opening your hands and your heart and saying, "I choose you," not because you're perfect, but because you're worth the work, worth the risk, worth every difficult, beautiful, terrifying moment. Zara had spent 6 years running. Dominic had spent 38 years hiding, but together they'd finally learned the art of letting go. And in that surrender, they'd found something neither had been looking for, but both desperately needed.